Now, time for business with Kate Moody. What do you approve of the mittens?
I think for the kind of weather they were having yesterday, it's a very good choice, yes.
They look good. Now, what about unemployment data, more to the point, in the United States? Tell us about the economic challenges facing Joe Biden and Kate.
Well, it's a really sobering number of people that were applying for unemployment benefits last week, James, really underscoring the depth of the challenges that are facing the new administration. Another 900,000 people filed applications for jobless benefits last week. That's about 25,000 fewer than the previous week, but still over 3 times higher than the weekly average a year ago. The hospitality industry remains the hardest hit. It has already shed 498,000 jobs in the month of January so far. The overall number of people claiming unemployment benefits did drop fairly substantially from 18.4 to 16 million, but that's largely because of a temporary lapse in coverage. It doesn't indicate that those people are in fact back at work. The number is expected to rise again once the latest emergency measures are put in place. Rebuilding America's labor market will be a long and uphill battle, one that President Biden hopes to tackle in the short term with more aid for businesses. Wednesday's inauguration proceedings were watched closely around the world, including in French vineyards. Winemakers are among those that have been hit with tariffs under the Trump administration, and they're hoping for a shift in trade policy under the new president. Karis Garland reports.
These winemakers in France's Burgundy region have seen their US sales drop by 60% in the last year, and they blame tariffs imposed by Donald Trump. Their bottle of Chablis has gone from €10 to $12.50 for Americans, but they're hopeful that will change under the new president.
Évidemment, tout le monde souhaite une annulation des taxes, ce serait bien plus simple, qu'on puisse retravailler comme avant. Mais là, malheureusement, on ne sait pas. Voilà. Donc là, ce qu'on vend actuellement aux États-Unis, ce sont des vins d'entrée de gamme.
The tariffs are part of a conflict between the US and the EU. Each accused the other of illegally subsidizing Airbus and Boeing. The 16-year-old spat turned increasingly sour during Trump's presidency, with Washington imposing 25% tariffs on wine, cheese, steel, and other European products. The EU responded with its own round of tariffs on US imports. Joe Biden, however, said he hoped to repair the trade relationship with Europe, prompting optimism across the Atlantic.
Tout le monde suppose qu'il n'y a rien à gagner à prolonger ce différend et à prolonger ces taxes douanières qui sont imposées de part et d'autre.
There's also hope the Biden administration can make progress in a standoff over digital taxes, which has triggered threats of even more tariffs. Biden's team has committed to continue negotiations for a global deal to rewrite cross-border taxation rules.
Let's check in on the day's trading action now. Another day of record highs on Wall Street as we saw the closing bell give more records to both the Nasdaq and the S&P 500. The S&P just eking out a gain there, but still another record high for that index. The Dow Jones closing slightly below the flat line there. Shares of United Airlines dropped after it reported massive losses for last quarter. The major European indices closed lower. We saw the FTSE 100 down a third, the CAC 40 about 2/3 of a percentage point here in Paris. The European Central Bank decided to keep its key bond buying program unchanged, but warned the pandemic still poses risks to EU economic growth. Moving on to some of the day's other business headlines now. Google has reached a deal with French media organizations to pay them more for showing extracts of their work online. Hundreds of newspapers in France are going to be involved by this deal with the internet giant over what's called related or neighboring rights for their content. It means they'll now be negotiating fees from Google for showing previews of their articles in search results. Volkswagen is facing fines of up to 140 million euros from the European Union after it failed to meet tough new emissions standards. The German carmaker said it had narrowly missed the target, blaming the pandemic for slowing it down, and said it's committed to expanding its electric and hybrid offerings this year. And KLM is to cut between 800 and 1,000 more jobs as the pandemic continues to affect air travel. The Dutch carrier, which is partners with Air France, said the recovery in the long-haul sector in particular was taking considerably longer than expected. KLM announced 5,000 layoffs in July. Airlines around the world have cut tens of thousands of jobs in the last year. Italy has issued a new €2 coin paying tribute to the role healthcare workers have played in the pandemic. The design shows two people wearing masks with the word grazie, or thank you, plus a red cross and a heart. Some of those will become collector's items, but about 3 million of them are expected to trickle down into public use. France issued a similar coin honouring medical professionals at the end of last year, but it is not for circulation. These coins, though, James, might trickle across Europe really as they start to make their way into circulation, and they will probably serve as a really poignant reminder of the year that the EU and indeed the world has just had.
Well, they do end up getting all very mixed up for anyone who's been around, different European countries. So I'm sure we'll come across one of them pretty soon. Thanks for that, Kate. Quick break for the weather, and we'll be back with news and headlines right after.